Pokemon Sun and Moon era has some of the best looking cards and some of the most expensive modern cards that you can find. From the tag team alt art to the female full art trainers, it has been going absolutely crazy in 2023 of what was going on in the Sun and Moon era. However, we're now in 2024. Things are not looking as greener, let's say, on the other side in Sun and Moon. So things have been changing and we're going to be covering them all in this video. So let's get into it. Right guys, so today we're looking at Sun and Moon. Look, I've been looking at a lot of Sword and Shield. We've been looking at Scarlet and Violet. Now is the time to look at Sun and Moon, because we know that booster boxes and sealed product in Sun and Moon is going to record heights. It is just absolutely crazy. And last year, a lot of the top end cards were doing the same, right? We saw a lot of the tag team alt arts go for insane prices. I mean, some of them were even more than booster boxes at several $100 each for a card. It's absolutely crazy. And then you had the female trainer slash waifu craze of the Sun and Moon era. Now we know in Japanese era sets that is the case, right? And we don't normally get that in English. We just don't. Like when those trainer cards come out in English, they're like 20% of the value sometimes. It's just not very good at all. In the Sun and Moon, it was a bit different. Now we're into 2024 and things are dropping in the Sword and Shield era. Things are super cheap in Scarlet and Violet right now. Sun and Moon, where is it at? Are things falling? Are things still going up? We'll be taking a look today at PokeJace.io at the Sun and Moon era, okay? And we're going to see what is going on with the full art trainer craze. Is it still doing well? Is it not? Let's go and find out. First off, we have Cosmic Eclipse. Now, I'm a huge fan of Cosmic Eclipse. There are some incredible cards in this set. Booster boxes are like, what, $800 plus a box? I know, it's mad, it's crazy. But there are some big cards in this set. There are some big alt arts. As you can see, like the prices, guys, I mean, already you can, you know, $200 and stuff like that. We're talking big money cards, right? We're not talking $25 Miriams from Scarlet and Violet base. We're talking big, expensive full art trainers, right? So we have things like the full art Rosa at $200. We have the Lily's Full Force here at $180. And then of course you've got like the tag team alt arts as well. But we're not looking at the tag team alt arts today. That will be in a future video. We're focusing today on the female trainers, because as a rule, they have been doing very well. So we're going to take a look at the Rosa. All right, full art Rosa. So we have here the raw card prices. Obviously they vary depending on where they are. So we're looking at 162 on eBay, 200 on TCG. And then the PSA 10, there's about 400, which actually isn't a huge amount, and it's about $400. So it's about double the value in a PSA 10. It's kind of less, or roughly the same, in a PSA 9. But let's look at the price trend. So we'll go back over the past year. This will give us a real good indication of what was going on, right? So here we have two lines. We have the blue line, which is the raw price, and then the orange line, which is PSA 10, right? So the raw price of this card was about $100, and then like I say, in 2023 it started to go up, so it kept going up. So bear in mind, $100, and it reached a high of over 200, 220, so more than double in value in August last year, and it stayed at around 200 for the longest time. It's done pretty well. But then when we start to get to towards the end of last year, right, so 200 there, around the end of November it started to fall. 170, December 130, 120, then it trickled back up slightly. It actually nearly went back up to that 200 mark, and it's starting to dip again, right? So that's the raw price. It has been falling. It's the PSA graded price that really interests me. So a year ago, it was $300 for a 10. And then in the height of the summer last year with this big boom come in, a PSA 10 was more than double the value, over $700. And then it started to drop, and it trickled up a little bit, and now it's starting to drop again. So it's actually, we look here, 374. So we look at that line, it's slightly more than it was a year ago, but it's dropped by nearly 50% since summer last year. So I feel like the craze happened and is kind of settling back down to where it should be, right? And I don't feel like the population jumped up that high, mainly because these cards aren't easy to get hold of, and especially in the 10. And on top of that, booster boxes are so expensive. So this is the full art Rosa from Cosmic. Now we look at the Lily's Full Force, another card we talked about in Cosmic. So the raw price, you know, we're looking around 144, 180 on TCG, 134 on Card Market. So PSA 10, we're looking at 285. Again, less than 400 in the pop cap. Now, again, look at the price trends. So that's 6 months. We're going back a year. Look at this, guys. So a year ago, raw, this card was about 81. Then in the summer of last year, it more than doubled in value. You know, pushed all the way up to like 170, 180. And it has dropped down a little bit. So where it is now, 126, is higher than a year ago, but not quite as high as it was in the summer. And then the same goes again for the graded price, right? So a year ago, the graded price was 185. Okay, summer last year, big boom, over $500 for this card, and now we're sitting at 268. So it is a good chunk more than a year ago, but again, it's 50%, near enough, basically, yeah, 50% less than what it was in the summer, which is actually quite surprising. Right, and then we took a look at Unified Minds. I love Unified Minds, has some of my favorite cards in, you know, the Sun and Moon era, and we're going to be looking at the Mistys Favor, because if you look at all the other top cards in the set, they're either tag teams or rainbows, or like rainbow tag teams, right? They're either alt arts or the rainbows. And then the next trainer is full art Blues Tactics, which is $36. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at the big money, you know, female, ideally, you know, cards. So we got the Mistys Favor. Right, so Mistys Favor, we're looking at 124 for the raw eBay price, 162 in TCG, and then we got the PSA price, 415, so over $400. 465, so slightly higher pop cap. Now let's take a look at these. So raw price a year ago, we're looking around about 90. Then this kind of like boom came in and nearly 180. We did reach over 180, 190 in the summer, so more than doubled in price, and is now 150. So it's gone up by about 50% of where it was a year ago, which is pretty good. But it's also dropped, you know, by about $50 since, you know, the summer. And then we look at the graded price. So the graded price actually was only like $200 a year ago. And now we're sitting at 400, so it's doubled in price, which is pretty good. But then if you look at where it was before, you're reaching over 600. It has dropped by about $200 or so from the high. So this card's actually been a little bit more resilient than some of the others, but it still has dropped from the hype. Now it has gone up overall, and I do expect it to go up overall, you know, over time, but a gradual progression. But it didn't have a gradual progression; it just shot up. So it's nice to see it come back down to where it should be. Okay, we have Team Up. Now, Team Up's a bit of an interesting one. You know, some of you may already know the story of the how, like, this short printed set, you know, big money cards, $2,000 a booster box. I know it's crazy. So, you know, the most expensive card, obviously, is the Latias and Latios Tag Team. Oh, well, incredible card. You know, it's over $700 raw. That's actually dropped in price, but we'll take a look closer at that in a different video. We're looking at the trainers today, and we have the Erica's Hospitality. Fan favorite Erica, you know, OG. And another one you've got here is the full art Sabrina Suggestion. So we've got a card that's like 120 here, another card is 135. So let's take a look at both of these. Okay, so the Erica. So we have here 100 in eBay, 135 on TCG Player, PSA 10, 220, only 250 in the pop. So a year ago, raw, let's look at the raw first, $50 raw. Summer last year, it tripled in price, so 158, very impressive. And it is settled at about 100. So it's dropped about, it's doubled in price over a year ago, which is very good. But it has dropped by about $50, okay? And then we look at the PSA price, it was 200 a year ago. Now we're sitting at 350, so it's gone up by $150, nearly doubled in value. But it did actually reach about 400, so 425. So it hasn't actually dropped that much compared to some of the others. So I think it's that's the power of Team Up, just because of how rare and, you know, little amount these cards are out there. But I do feel like that would help, you know, with the value of these particular cards from the tag team, and obviously now these full arts as well. Now let's look at the Sabrina's Suggestion, also from Team Up. We're looking at slightly cheaper in raw price, but $200 in PSA 10, so not a huge amount. Less than 200 out there, which is actually quite impressive. So raw price was about $50. Height of summer last year, it doubled in value, and it actually has ended up more than it. So we're basically at the highest price point for this card raw. Very impressive. But then we look at the graded price, it was 140, 150. Now it's sitting at 230, so it has gone up. But its high was at 1.3, nearly $350. So it's dropped by about 150 or more than $150. It's dropped around about over $100, $120 over the past, you know, year, essentially, from its high. But it's still higher than it was a year ago, which is still very impressive. And I think that is the power of Team Up. So when we look at a lot of these full art trainers, I think the Team Up ones will do better in the long run because there's a lot less out there. But yeah, I think overall, as we've seen, a lot of these have been dropping. Then we go to a set like Celestial Storm. Celestial Storm has one of the biggest trainer cards in the Sun and Moon era in the full art Lycia. This is a huge big money card. As you can see, a 264 raw is such a huge card. But let's see how well this card's been doing. Okay, this card's seen some bit of a weird movement. Let's put it that way. So $200 raw, 264 on TCG Player. We're looking at $600 in a PSA 10, over 500. So a higher, much higher pop than a lot of the cards we've been looking at today. So raw price, it was 170. I have no idea what's been going on in this graph. So it probably reached about 300 raw at the height of the summer last year with the boom. So it did pretty well. And now it has dropped. But it's actually gone down than a year ago. So now it's 213. And no, actually it's gone up slightly. It has gone up slightly, but not by much really at all. And then we look at the PSA 10 price. This is a pretty brutal. So a year ago this card was, it says 520. And then in the height we're looking about 1,000. And now we're looking around about 600. So it said 500 here, so it's gone up a little bit over the past year, but it has dropped massively over the summer. Dropped nearly 50% in its value over the summer, which is quite a bit. Let's put it that way. It's quite a bit, but it's still one of the biggest full art trainers. But there's a lot more pop out there. That will reduce the value, of course. And then Ultra Prism. Ultra Prism has the most expensive full art modern day trainer you can get in the full art Lily. And of course, you got quite a few full art trainers here which do hold pretty good value. But today we're going to be looking at these three in particular because they are big money cards, over $100 each. We got to take a look at them. Okay, starting things off, we have the full art Lucamine. Hopefully I said that right. So $137 raw. For this, 200 in a PSA 10 and 136 out there, so a low pop. Yeah, this card's had a bit of a roller coaster. So we're looking here, raw price about $60 a year ago, reached a high of nearly double, or over double actually, over 130, and is settled at 100. So it's gone up by about $40 over the year, but it has dropped from its high of 130. Then the PSA price, this is an interesting one. So it's 125. Then in the summer it reached 570, and it is now 200. So it went up by about $75 on the year, but it has dropped over 50%. I would even say it's probably dropped nearly 2/3 because it was 570 and it is now 200. That's crazy. So it's dropped like 60-70%. That is quite a big drop. So yeah, interesting. This is from Ultra Prism. Still doing pretty well though, on the year, but hype. It is dying down. We can't deny it. Then we've got the full art Cynthia. Cynthia is a massive fan favorite from Ultra Prism. So we're looking at eBay raw 83, TCG player 122. I would probably say it's 122. To be fair, that seems quite low. Card market seems really low. So we've got PSA 10 at 332. Pretty good going. Quite high pop, nearly 400 compared to some of the others we've seen. So raw, under $100. And like I say now, it says 90, but I think it's probably gone up a little bit. So it hasn't really changed much. But then again, during the summer last year, it did actually go up to nearly 150. So it has dropped. Then the PSA price, we're looking at 342 a year ago. It's actually less than it was a year ago, which is interesting. And it's also less from its high of $500. So this card has dropped $170 in value since summer last year. These are huge drops, absolutely massive. So it's interesting to see that these big top-end money cards are dropping in value across the board, especially in that Sun and Moon era. And then we have the full art Lily to finish it off. This is the big one. So eBay 340, TCG player 460. These are big price differences, but we can say they're probably around about $400 on average. And then we got PSA 10, $983, 551. So high pop cap, but very, very high value in eBay. But guys, honestly, look what's gone on. So raw, a year ago, we're looking at 240, and now it is let's say 400. It's gone up on the year. Summer last year did reach a high of nearly $600 raw, so it has actually dropped probably about $200 raw, which dropped about a third. But look at this PSA 10 price. Look at this. So a year ago it was 900. And we already said that now, yeah, you're looking around about over 1,000. So it has actually gone up on the year. But in the summer of last year, it reached a high of 3K. So this card has dropped a third of its value, 2/3, sorry, of its value since summer last year in its graded price. That's crazy. Like, that's nuts. There was a big hype. Ultra Prism, this is the biggest full art trainer. Is still massive. It is still very expensive. We can't ignore that fact. This is a very, very big chase card. One of the biggest chase cards in the Sun and Moon era. But man, that has dropped. That has fallen massively. I mean, it was massively hyped in the first place. This is what happens when you get this artificial hype that doesn't deserve it. This shouldn't happen. You should have the natural progression where it is higher than a year ago. And it should be higher than a year ago. But not that high. You know what I mean? So it's good that it's corrected itself, but but it goes to show that it's just a hype. A little bit of a hype right there. There you have it, guys. Those are the big full art trainers from the Sun and Moon era. Wowza. I mean, a lot of these have dropped in value by 50-60% from their graded price. Some of the raw prices have naturally gone up over time, but they have dropped, and some of them did drop a fair amount from their highs of summer last year. That big boom, that big craze has gone back to normal now, and that's what I expect to happen. And I think the same will go for the tag team arts, but we're going to be looking at them in a different video. I think the same has happened or will happen to the tag team arts. We'll find out in a future video. We'll be going through all the Sun and Moon era tag team arts and see what's been going on there. But the trainers themselves have been dropping, and a lot of their graded prices, even though the pop cap is going up, still not massively high, but they are going up. The values of these have dropped from their insane peaks of summer 2023. Things are going back to normal. But what does it mean for the rest of the Sun and Moon era? I mean, the silk products have been going through the roof. Like I say, we'll be looking at the tag team arts to see what's been going on there. Have they been affected by this inflated hype? Have they gone back down to normal? But if you made this far into the video, guys, and you've enjoyed it, make sure to smash the like button and make sure you subscribe for more Pokemon content. And let me know down in the comments, guys, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, a lot of it is dropping. Do you think like it's good that it's back to normal? What are your thoughts on that hype that happened last year? Was it really necessary? Were people just trying to pump so they could dump? Who knows? Who knows? If you want to know what's going on in the Scarlet and Violet era, then make sure to click the video on screen right now where I go through all of the cards that you need to keep an eye on, which could blow up this year and next year. Definitely don't want to miss that one. And that is it from me, guys, in this video. As always, you guys are the legends. I'll see you in the next one.